Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Tabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, I'm going to go off on these damn Clippers and especially James Harden. But before we even get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my name is Charles Tabansi. Handle on Instagram is CTABANZ. And also, if you want today's full show before it comes out, it's streaming for free on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have that pinned in the comment section. But let me just talk about these damn Clippers. Let me just talk about these damn Clippers. I am so pissed off with this team. I can't even express the amount of frustration that is permeating through my body right now because it is these damn Clippers. The Clippers were one of the sleepers in the Western Conference this season. Do you know the reason why? It wasn't because they were not a good team. It wasn't because they weren't a team that if they were fully healthy last year, they would have been able to make some serious noise in the playoffs. It was because of the questions around the health of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. All of us were saying that if the Clippers are fully healthy this season, we all expect them to be one of the teams that could compete for the Western Conference Finals, compete in the Western Conference. This is what we all felt. The Clippers, when they started off this season, certain vows were made. Paul George said this is going to be his bully ball year. Kawhi Leonard made it perfectly clear that he's going to try to play every single game in the calendar if possible. Thus far, Kawhi Leonard has not missed a single game this season, and the Clippers started off very, very well. And then what happens? The Clippers then decide to have a bright idea to go out there and sign team obliterator, to quote Skip Bayless, James Harden, who had just recently played on 3 teams in 3 different years. And they decided, you know what? We want to bring him into the fold. And the moment that news came out, I was one of the people that said, this is one of the all-time stupidest ideas any team has floated over the last 10 years at the very least. But nevertheless, the Clippers being the Clippers decided, you know what? We're going to be the ones to bring in James Harden. And what happened? Not only did they bring in James Harden, I got the disappointing news from head coach Ty Lue that not only to add insult to injury, they now decided that they were going to start James Harden in the bleeping starting lineup. And I said to myself, my God, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? And then what happens? They start the guy, and you could tell from the very first game that their offense was totally out of whack. Instead of they say, okay, we've had enough, what do? They turn around 2 nights later, and then they start him again, and what happens? They walk into the Brooklyn Nets arena yesterday in Brooklyn, and they get embarrassed by being beaten 100-93 with the Brooklyn Nets team that did not have Nick Claxton and did not have Ben Simmons, and they still lost after Cam Johnson got injured in that game. And then a staggering stat came out when I was watching NBA TV when they were talking to Udonis Haslem and I can't remember the other guy about what the offense is becoming since the addition of James Harden. So what we want to do is want to quickly play this audio for you, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Just take a listen to this.
Listen, if we've learned anything over the NBA, from the NBA the last several years, it's when you throw a lot of talent together, it is not guaranteed to work. And if it does work, as you have seen firsthand, it usually takes a while for it to gel.
And a lot of sacrifice. And the thing about it is you never know on any given night whose turn it's going to be to sacrifice. And it's definitely also going to depend on the role players as well. You know what I'm saying? Those role players have to be big for those guys, but somebody's going to have to sacrifice, and on any given night, it's going to be a different guy. But those guys have to be ready to play winning basketball every single night. They got to buy in. They can't be 1 foot in. They can't be a half foot in. They got to be 4 feet in on everything.
Let me ask you about this. This is going to be a big topic of conversation. Shot distribution with those big 4. Here's how it went against the Nets on Wednesday night. 20 for Paul George, 18 for Russell Westbrook, 16 for Kawhi Leonard, and 9 for James Harden. Do you like that?
For me, I'm okay with that.
There's a lot of nonverbal over here by this guy. I don't know if he does. I don't know if UD likes it.
For me, I just see it a little bit different. Who's going to guard that power forward that wants to bang? Is that Paul George or Kawhi Leonard? Now, if you don't like that starting lineup of T. Lue, who do you take out of the starting lineup? That's going to be when you need to talk about sacrifice. It's going to be more than just shots. Somebody's going to give us some shots to go down there. If Zubac goes out and shows on the screen and roll and he has to switch and that 5-man dives, right? Who picks him up?
Right.
Who's that power forward or who's that next big or who's that small forward or two-guard that wants to battle, who wants to front, who wants to box out? Who's going to get on that free throw line? You got a big over there, but then you got Udonis as a 4, and I'm a 2-guard over here, and I'm on that free throw line. Somebody got to do the boxing out.
I'm going to beat you up.
Those little things is when you see on that free throw line, you get beat up on that free throw line. That's the person that's going to have to sacrifice. And that's when I think T. Lue is going to have to find out. And they're going to have to talk within. It's going to be collectively and singly. Somebody's going to have to do a little bit more dirty work.
Well, I think that the answer to that is P.J. Tucker, right? Like, you would think that would be him, but
who T. Lue takes out of the starting lineup for P.J. Tucker?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Sacrifice.
Okay, that's what I want to see, that conversation.
So you heard what the audio said. That Kawhi Leonard has now been relegated to being the person that's taking the third most shots. Only the Clippers, but it doesn't stop there. I was doing some research this morning. I came across a clip on YouTube featuring about ESPN on ESPN First Take clip, and they were discussing this trade. And when it came time for Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith to get on this James Harden trade, Kendrick Perkins expressed every bit of frustration, and he expressed all of the problems that I've been seeing with this Clippers team perfectly in his monologue when he described the absolute embarrassment that the Clippers are turning into. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith said. I want you guys to listen to every single point, because when I come back, I'm going to go off on this damn team. Take a listen to what Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith had to say there.
I actually prayed for him. I said a prayer for T. Lue because of what he's about to go through with this situation, and he deserves better. When you look at this team, before they traded for James Harden, they wasn't missing anything. When you think about a guy like Nicholas Batum, right? Not the Nicholas Batum that we expected him to be when he was in the with the Bobcats or the Hornets at the time. I'm talking about Nicholas Batum, the role player. He was the perfect fit for them. When you look at Robert Covington, he was the perfect fit for them, right? I'm looking at the Clippers, and they have too many Chiefs and not enough Indians, right? You need those role players around them. So this is not about Harden, right? I'm not believing I want to win and I just want to win. That's not true. We don't trust you. But the thing is that I feel bad for my guy, T. Lue, because this is about to be a stressful season for him dealing with this Clipper roster.
You know what's fascinating is that in the first 5 games of the season, and I know 5 games is nothing in the NBA. It's literally nothing. Yeah. The first 5 games of the season, you know who the most effective offensive lineup, 3-man lineup in the whole NBA was?
Let's tell us, Wendy.
Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook. Those guys were killing it. Now, look, I'm not saying they would have been that way for 82 games or throughout 2 months of the playoffs. But they actually were playing beautiful basketball together. They were putting up some of the best offensive numbers in the league. So they make this trade, and you can tell watching these 2 games in New York, the Clippers' offense has collapsed.
Yeah.
And when you watch them, they're forcing all 4 of them to play together in the starting lineup. And I don't think that's going to work, but they got to manage the egos there. And in this game last night, you had Russell Westbrook taking 18 shots and James Harden taking 9. Now, again, we're talking about 1 game in November. It's their 2nd game together, but that ain't going to work. That's not going to fly. So they actually had found a nice little groove after Westbrook had played well for them last year before the injuries, and they've now taken that snow globe and shaken it all up. And so Ty Lue has said he needs 10 to 15 games to figure this out. I think it's going to take longer than that. They obviously made this trade to raise their ceiling, and over the long haul, they believe that's going to be the case. But I think they may have messed up something that they had something cooking. And maybe that team with those 3 guys as their best offensive players, maybe they couldn't beat the Denver Nuggets when it mattered. And maybe when Harden hits his stride, if Harden hits his stride, they'll have a chance to go up there and compete on the level of the Denver Nuggets, who, by the way, are 8-1, and Nikola Jokic has 9 straight 2010 games. Maybe that's what they did. But I would just say that the short term here has caused a setback. And it'll be interesting to see if they can ever recapture the efficiency that they had just before they made this trade.
Here's my deal. They're 0-2 with Harden. Harden's shooting 55% from the field, about 40+% from three-point range, taking less shots. What makes it tricky is that now you're going to ask somebody to make a sacrifice. That's basically what you're coming down to. Because I'm going to tell everybody right now, say what you want about Russell Westbrook. Ever since he's become a Los Angeles Clipper, he has looked a lot better. We thought his career was damn near finished when he was with the Lakers.
Yeah.
He's resurrected himself, and he's been a plus to that Clippers organization. And to me, if you're the Clippers, I'm wondering why you even felt the need to go out and get a James Harden when you had Russell Westbrook there playing the way he played. By the way, didn't play that bad in the playoffs. Remember, you don't have Kawhi Leonard. He goes down after the second game. He won them some games. And then when you look at Russell Westbrook and the way that he played, if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are healthy last year, are we sure Phoenix would have got out of the first round?
No.
Or the Clippers would have beat them? And so I look at it from that perspective, and I'm wondering why the Clippers didn't ask themselves that particular question. So now you've got James Harden coming here. And here's what I would say to James Harden. I'm not going to go at him like you just did, even though you ain't wrong. I will say this to you. I'm going to be nice about it. Yo, bro. 3-time scoring champion, league MVP. You have everything on your resume but a championship. What you smiling about? What's so funny? What's so relaxing? You understand what I'm saying? There's something about you in your soul that needs to, it needs to be something, James Harden, that's irritating the hell out of you. Okay? You were in Brooklyn last night, okay? We remember when Kyrie Irving went down, when you were still hurt, and you came out there in that Game 7, and you played with Kevin Durant, and you couldn't get it done. It wasn't your fault, but you were hurt, but you couldn't beat Milwaukee, obviously. We got that. We saw that. But knowing what you sacrificed and what you were willing to put out when you were in Brooklyn before you left, they booed you last night. They booed you. Chances are you come to Philly, they're going to boo you.
They booed him in the Garden.
They booed you in the Garden the other night. We don't know whether or not you're going to get booed when you go back to Houston, despite the great years that you've given to that city and that organization. This is what it is for you, James Harden. And so for me, it should be something in him that's hell-bent on going out there and trying to wreak havoc. And then last but not least, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, James Harden. The three guys was the most games played without an NBA championship to show on their resume. The Clippers should be the team with the biggest attitude you could possibly muster. They should be going at games night in, night out, ready to wreak havoc and show the basketball world we coming for all of y'all. That's what should be happening, because with their talent, they don't have a championship.
Well, one, S.A., is like, this is where I disagree with you, Ed. Okay. Because you're asking someone to have some type of passion and drive about themselves, like in a James Harden, when he has shown us time and time again that he doesn't give a damn. How many times have we seen them get bounced out of the playoffs, and in the same night he's been in the club? We done seen videos of him in the club. We done seen it too many times. This is why I want to overreact to this loss last night. Do you realize the Brooklyn Nets were missing Ben Simmons? The Brooklyn Nets were missing Cam Johnson, and the Brooklyn Nets lost Cam Thompson, Cam Thomas, who I believe is their leading scorer right now, who's been balling, and you lose that game.
Nick Claxton.
Nick Claxton, not in the lineup. So when I think about the Clippers and I think about what Kawhi Leonard said after they lost to the New York Knicks, we got a lot of people that could score now, so I'm going to just, I just got to wait on my opportunity. You are the opportunity.
So you heard what they had to say. What did I tell you about James Harden? Kendrick Perkins is saying the exact same thing I said about James Harden. He does not care. Why are you smiling? He was smiling like, I got to get back. I got to get my win back. Kawhi Leonard over there capping. Talking about, we're going to get the most out of it. Everybody opportunity going to come. You heard what Kendrick Perkins said. What are you talking about, Kawhi? Why would it be an equal opportunity offense when the players in the offense are not equal? Help me figure it out. Why would that be the case? Why would Kawhi Leonard concede shots to players that he is better than? Why would you do that? Why? That's number one. Number two, what happens when Ty Lue finally says, you know what? I think James Harden, you're going to need to come off the bench. What type of reaction do you think James Harden is going to have? What happens when this team starts losing and James Harden mentally checks out? What then happens? You expect James Harden to galvanize the troops, the same guy that was in a club or whatever the hell it was, the very same night he lost the playoff game. That's the guy you want in your locker room? Are you being serious right now? The Clippers offense is in shambles right now. Paul George yesterday shot about 18% from the field. 18%! Kawhi Leonard shot something like 35%. And I'm sitting there asking myself, why do they still have James Harden and all of these guys on the floor at the same time? He plays absolutely zero defense. Zero. Zilch. Once he gets beat by his man, it's over. He's not going to rotate over to the other. He's not going to do none of that. But nevertheless, they still took it upon themselves to sign. Only the Clippers. I'm getting on the Clippers today. Only the Clippers. You have a good thing, and you decide, how can we mess this up? Now, some people are saying, well, the reason that they got James Harden is because inevitably, there's a chance that Kawhi Leonard and those boys get injured, so we got James Harden. And when you have James Harden, what do you have? How do you figure it out? Kawhi gets injured, you have James Harden. Are you still winning? No. So what's your point? What's your point? What's your point? What is your point? You can lose with him and with you can lose with Kawhi and without him. So what's your point? Number two, what kind of strategy is that? What kind of strategy is that? We're going to risk ruining the chemistry of our team in the hopes of maybe one of our stars get injured. And then we have somebody available. But in the meantime, we're going to ruin the chemistry of the team. So while you're waiting for that injury to occur, your team is getting destroyed in the standings. And this is genius thinking. Let me tell you guys what I think. This trade will not work. You can, if you like, give it 35 years. Forget about 10 games. Give it 30 years. It's not going to work. It is a bad fit. The Harden trade was absolutely unnecessary. Is James Harden a great player? Absolutely. But I don't want him on the Lakers, on the Clippers. I don't like the intangibles. The guy's not serious. He's not serious. Stephen A. Smith was one of, what are y'all smiling about? This is what I'm trying to figure. Why are the Clippers smiling? You haven't won nothing. What is this laissez-faire attitude that they have? They haven't won nothing. If I ain't got no money in my pocket, why am I smiling like as if I do? There needs to be a sense of desperation. People need to be pissed off. No, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. It's a process. You took something that was working and then you messed it up. You messed it up. Harden needs to go to the bench, period, in the story. There's no other talking. There's nothing else to discuss. There's nothing else to reason over. There's nothing else to have a conversation about. Harden needs to go to the bench. Some people are asking, why are you being so hard on the Clippers? Because this is self-inflicted. Nobody did this to the Clippers. The Clippers did it all to themselves. Even last year, they did it to themselves. They thought they were being so innovative that they said, you know what we're going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to be resting our star players in key games, cause them to miss games. We're going to be losing games because we're going to be load managing to ensure that their bodies are healthy, even though load management has been proven to not do a damn thing, to the point where you even have your own players criticizing this policy and Paul George on his show. They're like, we're going to be load man. And then losing games, tumbling down the standings. And then at one point they realize, oh, man, damn. We're about to be in a play-in tournament. And like, you know what? We got to ramp everybody up now. Kawhi, you got to play 40 minutes a game. And then what happens? Because you try, the guy has not been used to be playing back-to-back games. He's not used to be playing those high minutes. You play him and you run him down to the ground and he gets injured the very first game of the playoffs. Bravo. You get Russell Westbrook, you have something that's working, you heard the figures that Brian Windhorst stated, and then you say to yourself, things are going well. Now we want to get the number one malcontent in the NBA in James Harden, a player that nobody wanted, and we're going to bring him to our roster and further complicate things. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Why would you have something that's working and then mess it up to try to then fix it? I'm besides myself with this team because it's all self-inflicted. I'm going to catch you on the next show. I'm out.